Andrea, welcome. I know this is not your first time in Istanbul. We talked about it. I think you love Istanbul.
Yes, I'm very happy to be back here. I invested in Turkey before, and I'm really excited to invest again soon.
Hopefully, we are very looking forward to hearing the investment news. Andrea, I want to start with you. Can you provide some insights into the origins of the NATO Innovation Fund?
Yes. So the mission of the NATO Innovation Fund is to secure the future of the Allies' 1 billion citizens and to preserve the technology edge of NATO. This means that the fund was created to fill a gap which is investing in deep tech in Europe, particularly after the seed stage, so from Series A and above. And basically NATO had the foresight to convince all the member states that are participating in the fund to invest a significant amount. The fund is a €1 billion fund to invest both in funds, early stage, seed and pre-seed deep tech funds locally, and in companies at the Series A and above. And the other thing that is unique about this fund is that it's a 15-year fund, so this really is patient capital. And the idea is to support the company throughout their life journey.
Pretty cool. To shed more light on the fund's purpose, could you elaborate on the mission and objectives of the fund?
So the mission is to invest in deep tech applied to security, including defense. So the way we define security, it goes from anything from energy security, water security, food security, all the way through cybersecurity, genetic data, and defense tech. So we will cover the full gamut, and we will invest in deep tech companies that are applied to these markets.
I want to switch to Ebru. Ebru, could you tell us about the role of the board at the NATO Innovation Fund and your involvement with the fund?
Sure. So the LPs of this fund are the 23 NATO nations and soon Sweden as well. And obviously this is a very unique fund. It's the world's first multi-sovereign fund. So unlike most other VC funds, there's a structure of a board of directors which will help the management team led by Andrea in terms of setting the strategy and guidance on the strategic KPIs, following on not just the financial performance of the fund, but the strategic objectives, which are extremely purposeful. So we have more of a guidance role, and I'm really delighted to be working with Andrea, whom I know since more than 20 years, so from my time doing venture capital in London. And on a personal note, I'm really thrilled to be part of this because more than almost 30 years ago, when I finished my studies here at Boğaziçi, I received a NATO Science Scholarship, which enabled me to go to the US to do my graduate studies. So this is a fantastic opportunity for me to pay back on this purposeful mission.
You're kind of closing the circle with it.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. Andrea, I want to go back to you. So what do you think it means for the Turkish startups? The fund, so what kind of companies are you looking for?
So these are companies that I've been looking at for many years, coming to Turkey to look for investments. This is going to be more focused on deep tech, but deep tech is widely defined. So it covers anything from AI, machine learning, all the way to hardware and semiconductor and telecom equipment, the type of investments that Ebru and I were doing 20 years ago in Europe when we were looking at companies together. So basically, I would invite all entrepreneurs to contact us directly or through our website, through the normal channels, and present their plan, present their vision. And I'm looking to this week, I'm here for a few days and I'm going to meet 10, 15 companies across all of these sectors. And Turkey has a very strong network of engineering and in general, amazing universities that create IP. Yeah. And we want to accelerate the creation of the ecosystem where these IP get embedded into products and get taken to market and build scalable businesses.
Andrea, you are also very successful and seasoned deep tech investor. You have been investing in deep tech companies for more than 20 years. So as a seasoned deep tech investor, what do you advise to deep tech startups and entrepreneurs and the investors?
So the advice I would give to entrepreneurs particularly early stage academic entrepreneurs, is to really focus on product and product market fit. Deep tech companies need to be global on day one. So even Turkey, which is a very large market locally, companies need to be global on day one. So they need to think about hiring and expanding globally from a probably earlier stage than other companies like the US equivalent. So my advice would be focus on product, then focus on product market fit, really understand the match between product feature and customer needs, which accelerates sales eventually, and really focus on global market access.
In Turkey, what I observe is mostly entrepreneurs think like, okay, I'm gonna conquer the Turkish market first, and then I'm gonna go to global. But as you mentioned, if you don't put your agenda from day one, I'm gonna go global, then the structure doesn't really match.
That's right. What tends to happen is that the default mode when you have a very large local customer is that technology business have a tendency to become solution businesses. So building products that are just tailored to the local customer. And that one doesn't scale well. That leads to lower gross margin, lower scalable business, rather than having a real strong focus on product purity. Really understanding what is the product that can be taken to market, not only in Turkey, but globally from day one, and being disciplined about it, even though it's painful at the beginning.
This question is both of you. How do you define deep tech? There are many definitions of deep tech, but how do you define deep tech? Ebru, do you want to start?
Sure. You know, we have all sorts of innovation. You know, some of it is business innovation, business model innovation. Deep tech is where the innovation starts with the technology itself. And it's not a technology that you can develop overnight. You know, it really takes years to mature to a point where you can start talking about product market fit. So technology and the time it takes to market, I think, are the two defining features of deep tech for me.
Yes, it's very hard to define deep tech. What I can tell you is what deep tech companies, when you look at them, looking back, what they look like. Generally, the product is built around a science innovation. Often this science innovation is embedded in an academic paper or a PhD thesis. And then the company usually builds this know-how, sometimes in patents, sometimes just by keeping the know-how in-house. And then the product is the core of the product. Really, what drives the high gross margins in the product is that core innovation. Strong, successful deep tech companies, when you look back, that's what they look like. It's often hard to see a priori whether they can develop into that, but having done this for many years, me and my team, we can help them get there. And with the help of advisors and directors like Ebru, has been doing it as long as me, we can really help the local company achieve that.
It's such an amazing initiative with an amazing team. I want to ask more about the fund structure. Do you have any constraint about this number of deals in this specific country, for example? Do you have any constraints, or what's the structure at the fund?
That's the beauty. NATO really did it correctly. So they really set up an independent fund with a great board to advise us on the execution and the strategy. But we operate totally independently of NATO and our investors. We have 23, soon to be 24 long-term investors. As Ebru was saying, these are sovereign wealth funds. So they have a very long patient capital. And we can invest anywhere, picking the best companies in each of the 24 states. We are confident, and we are already proving that we see companies in each of these places. So we expect to invest in all of them, but there is no obligation to do so.
That's pretty interesting, because when you mention NATO, you expect some constraints and some rules, but you say it's totally independent. That's pretty interesting. And Ebru, tell us about your experience so far.
Well, it's been amazing. Actually, maybe I can share a little bit about how I got involved. So in March this year, I had a call from Egon Zehnder in London, and they'd been mandated to build a board, this independent board, to manage on behalf of the countries as in a supervisory capacity the fund. And they told me that they'd been looking for someone with my profile for 6 months already. So within 1 month, I was appointed. It was like super fast. And when I digged a little bit, I found out how they got my name. You have something to do with it too. It's a long story, but the short version is Fiona Murray, who's an MIT professor, had asked one of her Turkish students for names, and my name was on the list. And that's how I got introduced to the process. I'm really thrilled. It's been really interesting. Everything is moving at super fast pace, because the recruitment of the board, and soon after recruitment of the management team, discussions around strategy, priorities, structures. It's really fascinating. And I'm really happy that the board is very actively involved. I mean, we have 3 profiles on the board. So of the 9 people, 3 come with venture capital backgrounds. So our chair is Klaus Hommel, who is the founder of Lakestar. There is 1 more VC from Norway, and 3 people with defense background, and 3 people with innovation and academia, which is where Fiona is coming from. I know you've been her student as well. So the board is really well diversified, and we bring different perspectives and experiences. We learn from each other, and hopefully we support Andrea and his team in the best way to achieve this grand mission. It's a really long-term mission. Rome was not built in 1 day, right? Andrea and team are working very hard, and we're doing our best to support them.
So as Ebru mentioned, so one of my professors at MIT, Fiona, has been working with the fund, and when I was asked, like, who could be a good name from Turkey to act as a member of the board, I immediately mentioned Ebru's name, because I admire your expertise, your work ethic, and your leadership style. So it's a great match. So if I play tiny little role in the whole process, it's my honor.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe a separate note to everyone in the audience. You know the saying, your reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. This was really one of those moments for me.
Yeah.
And another thing, in Turkish we say, iyilik yap denize at. It's one of those things. I really give a lot of my time, share my experience, share my network with lots of entrepreneurs from all over the world. That's and it's the universe coming back to me and saying, you deserve this. Now you can have something back.
Amazing. Yeah. So I know Andrea and you guys will visit Ankara and to meet some entrepreneurs in Ankara. Yep. So we have, as you said, very amazing talent pool in Ankara, in Istanbul, all over Turkey. So startups are very excited about the fund. So what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So for, in particular, the very early stage one, I'm not sure this is public information yet, but I've become aware that 2 Turkish startups have been selected for the Diana Accelerator. So Diana is a sister activity to the NATO Innovation Fund, and it's a great activity that is very complementary to our fund. So Diana, think of Diana as an accelerator to hit product market fit in the dual use case. So they help companies address the market needs of defense and security. And they already had the first cohort of startups, and 2 of them from Turkey have already been admitted.
Oh, really?
And Diana will invest in grants in the companies, not in equity. And hopefully, at the end of this process, the company will be fundable by local seed investors, some of which we will invest in their funds. So in a way, we're trying to really create the whole ecosystem. So some of the companies we are seeing this week, I'm hoping will be targets for Diana Accelerator program over the next cohorts. Next year, I think they're planning multiple cohorts calls in different sectors. And I think that's another good way for very early stage companies to get into the ecosystem that we're trying to build.
But otherwise, they can apply directly to
Absolutely.
if they are later stage
exactly.
and they're not applying.
Exactly.
Okay, I was going to ask that actually, bro. Thank you. So you are both very seasoned investors, and you saw many cycles in technology and economy as well. So right now we are going through some weird times, I will say. What is your advice? This question is both of you. What is your advice for startups and also investors as well in this crazy, ever-changing world of technology and economy and the global conjuncture? I know this is a loaded question.
I mean, being an entrepreneur is difficult at the best of times. So when the winds are blowing the wrong direction, it's even more difficult. But it's just more of the same, right? More challenging. And the great entrepreneurs are those who have the resilience to ride those waves, right? And I remember a quote which is, startups do not run out of cash, which is why they go bankrupt, right? But they don't run out of cash. They run out of patience and trust of their investors that they will get there, right? So it's really important that they keep that trust relationship with their investors, because even if they are not able to get new funding, they could really rely on their existing investors to pass those difficult days and keep going on, you know, without stalling progress. So I think investor relations become even more important, both with current and potential investors. In addition to, you know, what they love doing, build the product, sell the product, investor relations is not something that's, you know, their most preferred activity. But just like you guys say, a GP is always fundraising. You know, an entrepreneur is also always fundraising, even if you're not actively asking for money. So
great points from Ebru. Andrea?
And another key important point, it's about selling a story. So the best entrepreneurs are always building trust and looking after their existing shareholders. But in a way, they're great storytellers, because new investors have very, not short memories, but a very narrow time to understand what the business does. So refining the storytelling around the equity story and focusing on the customer benefit that you deliver, not necessarily the technology that delivers it. So what we talk about is about not focusing on what we call technology push, but customer pull. So really focusing on what will pull the product into a customer and building an attractive vision around that can be delivered in 3 minutes. I think that really catches the attention and the imagination of the investors. If you achieve that, you buy yourself access to that investor to have further conversations.
And if I can add to that, this is particularly challenging for deep tech entrepreneurs because they come from super technical backgrounds. They are not necessarily storytellers. Correct. So that's a muscle they need to really develop early on.
Correct.
Great points. Andrea, Ebru, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with
you.
us. We have gained valuable insights into this amazing, remarkable initiative. And good luck with everything.
Thank
you.
And thank you all. Have a great rest of the summit.